Well, welcome everybody. Welcome, John Donovan.
Hi, Marty.
Marty Keller here. This is the Intentional Living Podcast. Uh, in the Intentional Living Podcast, we focus on breaking patterns of behavior that I say I don't want and keep
Right.
coming back anyway. Like, what's with that? Uh,
hmm
so the accountability practice is all about uncovering subconscious currents, subconscious psychodynamics, identifying them, making them conscious, and with that conscious awareness, set intentions for the kinds of experience in my life that I want to have.
Yep.
So I can't do that if I haven't uncovered what's really going on in my subconscious experience. And we started in the last podcast, we talked about where these psychodynamics come from, where they reside. John, you shared with us the notion of 90, 95, maybe even 99% of our mind resides in the subconscious realm.
hmm
Therefore, there's an incredible amount of psychodynamics going on in me and you and all the rest of us that we're just blissfully unaware of. And
Right.
a lot of that stuff is benign, but a lot of that stuff is also challenging. And so the accountability practice is a way to make the unconscious or the subconscious conscious. And once those
hmm
things, once I'm aware of these things, I have way more choices than I do if they're just compulsions that seem to run me and seem to manage my life without my conscious agreement.
Right.
So one of the specific practice that you developed, we call the accountability tree. So last time we talked about the the general background of our psychodynamics, conscious and subconscious. Today, I'm going to ask if you'd be willing to step us through the actual way that this practice, which we call the accountability tree, and maybe you can mention a little bit why we call it the accountability tree, and help the newcomer get a sense of what this is all about. How do we
Okay.
how do we break these patterns of behavior, and how does this process help us do that?
Okay. So let me overlap a little bit about, I believe, what we did last week, and talking about the um, obstacles.
Right.
So my experiences, and that's what we're talking about. That it says 9/10 here, and you know, based on my experience, there's a lot in there, and it's way over 90%. It's the majority of it could be 95, 98% that have been experiences that have been relegated to the subconscious. And like you said, some of them are benign, just nice times or seeing something for the first time and then having that stored, that sense of awe stored in your subconscious. And in the subconscious is always also where we relegate the trauma. Um, because as children or even military people, they haven't got time to be scared or get out of there. They're there and they have to put their mind to their task. So all the emotions get put aside and they are relegated to the subconscious. And that's why the complex post traumatic stress happens with military people. Well, I'll talk about my childhood. My childhood was a battlefield concentration camp type environment where I was held hostage, and expected to do things a certain way and not be who I was. So all that experience, some of it nonverbal, some of it pre-verbal, and the pre-verbal is I didn't know how to speak. The nonverbal is when I did know how to talk and express and exchange ideas. The trauma itself had no words. There was no words for me to express it because of the need to survive and stuff it and comply or survive the best way I could in my childhood. So all of that is in the subconscious. So the only way to know, I'm saying pre-verbal, nonverbal. It's in a feeling tone, a frequency. and it's stored there in readiness in case something happens again to alert us to danger or harm coming. Only we don't know what it is. So what I do know is where I find myself based on my experience, trauma. So where I found myself was codependent, addicted, and in some type of avoidant behavior, like workaholic. Instead of staying home and being with the family, I would work 24/7 if I could, because it was safer at work than. And I didn't do any of this on purpose. It's just I found myself working. So, and that's what I classify as an avoidant behavior. When I own, because I don't know the motivation. Again, we're saying pre-verbal, nonverbal, and relegated to the subconscious. So I really am not aware of what it is. The only thing I know is where I'm at. Okay, so what I started doing is just simply owning where I was at. And wherever I'm at, whether I'm in a codependent behavior or I'm drinking, or for me, another one of the addictions was rageaholic. I would scream, yell, slam doors. That was a reaction response from, I don't know. I don't know. So this is where we're going to get to the accountability tree, the solution. So if all my motivation, most of my motivation, is coming from a place unbeknownst to me, subconscious, and all those subconscious, my whole consciousness, conscious and subconscious, is engaged every time I'm in a situation. Excuse me. And this isn't just because I'm in recovery or I'm wounded. Everybody on the planet, that's why human beings are made, to relegate to the subconscious things that aren't pertinent to what I need to focus on today. And years past, it was food, shelter, clothing. To focus on something to maintain my well-being in the environment. Okay. So how do you find out that thing you don't know? Oh, what I found is that you actually own where you're at, the where of where you're at. So mine was, let's use addicted to alcohol. I'm an alcoholic. Okay. We bring it to this process we're calling the accountability tree. And that is now plugged into where I'm at, my truth of this moment. When I say, I remember the first time I said it in a meeting, hi, my name's John, I'm an alcoholic. In that statement, blame-free, judgment-free, because I was in a room full of people who did not judge me, did not blame me, did not call me names, because they were there for the same purpose. So it was a blame-free, judgment-free zone. I said it, and something happened internally. I'm calling that emotion. That truth in a safe place created an emotional response that was in alignment with whatever happened to create the end result, the addiction. That's what I mean by self-validating. Judgment-free, blame-free. This is really important. Which validated the nonverbal, pre-verbal trauma. The way to heal trauma is to re-experiencing it in a safe place. And people can look up Peter Levine. He talks about working with children, bringing them back into the situation where they were traumatized, and then nurturing them in that moment, which relieves what happened a year ago, 2 years ago. One of the peculiar things about the subconscious is that it doesn't tell time. It's in the subjective now moment. It doesn't know time, which gives credence to what we call trigger. So if something happens in my current environment, somebody slams a door, this is now for my subconscious. So what happened in my past is now right in the moment. Trauma, startle, we call it startle effect. Okay. So when I say I'm an alcoholic, take a breath. This emotion happens. See, I don't have to name it. I don't have to really even recognize that it's going through me. Emotions happen, and the subconscious processes 4 million bits of information per second. So when I say my truth, I'm an alcoholic, that statement has encoded in it the frequency of the trauma that motivated it. So I just brought up from the past into the right now moment, whatever happened, I don't have to know. My body knows how to release it when I validate it. Now, an example of that is my grandson falls, skins his knee. It hurts. He goes to his mom, cries. She holds, nurtures. Yes, I see you. Yes, I see that hurt. Yes, I want to mirror for you that that is true. Done. My grandson, okay, it's like then now he's ready to go because he released the trauma in a safe place, validating place. His mother is blame-free, judgment-free. So he's learning to release, to emote, to cry, to whatever it needs to be done to acknowledge the hurt instead of stuffing the hurt. Now, when I was a kid, something I may have heard is, oh, you're a sissy. Why are you crying? That's only a little skin. That's only, oh, you shouldn't be crying. So I got redefined, and then that pain got stuck in there. It wasn't validated. When I say I'm an alcoholic, whatever pain caused the alcoholism is validated. I actually, my experience of that is like a relief, like a sloughing. And then I go right into I intend. Based on this truth, I'm an alcoholic. Well, when I first said it, my intention, although I hadn't got this like in order or this sequence here, my first thought was I'm coming back. So I intend to come back, which was way different than before I uttered the words I'm an alcoholic. That becomes intentional. So this, I call it like a hermetic chamber. I'm looking for the truth, which I bring to what I call the tree, blame-free, judgment-free. And the truth, Marty, when you start this, isn't pretty. It's not pretty where you find yourself based on a lifetime of stuffing trauma. I mean, severely
Well,
codependent.
not just stuffing trauma, but telling stories or lies about it. So
Yeah, yeah.
living in a denial universe.
See, that's what Gabriel Mate says. It wasn't the trauma that's the problem. It's post. What you believe, perceptions, and patterns of the perception of the trauma, which is still on subconscious. This is insidious. That is nagging at you. You got this little guy that we call it the committee in adult children of alcoholics, or the critic, or the critical parent. That guy that's always, for me, it's the guy that's always saying, "Oh, you could have done better. How come you did this? Why are you crying?" That shuts off. You simply are there, and like I said, this is timeless, so it's happening now. Something happened in the subconscious to relieve the trauma. And I got fish hooks in here. So it's like taking the edge off of one of those fish hooks. And you actually, if I had a pin, I'd draw a little circle right here. that's an experience of self-validation. It's an experience of self-nurturing, which is now part of your experience. I intend to be I'm an alcoholic. I intend to be sober. I intend to heal. Okay, that's now in here. And part of what now feeds your decision-making process about what you want to do, when you want to do it, if you want to do it. And it changes the results. These results are always in alignment with you, your experience. They suck. They hurt. They're damaging. They're impactful. I impacted the people around me um, seriously in a destructive way through my behavior, drinking, leaving them, all that. It is all that. It is not out of alignment with my experience. See, this thing in between, we call it reticular activating system, survival mechanism. Everybody knows survival mechanism. If somebody's chasing you, you can run faster than you thought you could run. I mean, this is fight, flight, freeze, please. Only now the danger level, deadly danger to fight, flight, freeze, please, comes from something innocuous like burnt toast, like you asking me a question I don't want to answer. And it's like I'm going into a behavior that is out of alignment with my current reality because I'm triggered. So if I just use an example of not staying at the level of current reality. If somebody asks me questions, I go like say it's a 2 and I go 6, 7, 8 with why you talk to me this way, you can't talk to me this way, of violent behavior. That difference between what's really happening and where I'm at is due to some kind of complex post-traumatic stress. This is simply the display of that trauma. Okay. What I think I'm going to do is go through that again, but have you got any thoughts, questions, comments about any of this, especially this part here, reticular activating system, survival mechanism?
Well, I want to emphasize or get your feedback on wanting to emphasize how much of this is physiological or to say neurological. This is in the physical body. This isn't in some kind of disembodied mind somewhere. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we talk about the subconscious, and the subconscious is a psychic realm, but it's anchored to the physical body. And the
Yeah,
reason I emphasize this is because way back when you were talking about the truth and the emotion that comes from the truth, I'm an alcoholic and we experience an emotion, and you say that emotion that you experience is in alignment with this this structure of our subconscious.
yeah,
The reason there is an emotional response in that is in alignment is because it's physical.
yes,
It's the body is actually um it's like you said that oftentimes, and this is my experience too, as I've shared on the podcast before, there's a sense of relief, and that
yeah,
relief is physical.
yes,
It may also be psychological or mental, but it's primarily physical. And so I just want to help the new person appreciate why the accountability tree is so powerful, because it takes us into our body where
yeah,
this material is stored as psychic, nervous energy, or even a nodule somewhere
yeah,
in my brain, somewhere in my endocrine system, or
mm-hmm.
all of it.
Yep,
And so I just wanted to reemphasize that,
yes, because thoughts create body chemistry.
and
Um,
vice versa.
eh, yes. Um, so if I'm under some type of traumatic response, my body says you need adrenaline. So it pumps physically, and it's pumping either blood to your arms and legs so you can run, or just your upper body so you can fight, or you freeze, you just go blank. That's adrenaline. Adrenaline's purpose is to keep you alive. And in a deadly situation, which some of the childhood trauma for the child was a deadly situation, shut down. Okay. But now it's happening in real time in my body, which is 240 pounds, and nothing's wrong. Absolutely. It's just my perception of the, we call it trigger, is reactive, which creates body chemistry, feeling tone, stress, tension. In the case of telling the truth, relax, relief, ease. So when this happens, the it changes the body chemistry. There's in ACA we talk about recreating childhood body chemistry because this survival mechanism says that's the way you survive. So it knows to survive through stress, holding stress. So it holds stress, and it takes your physical, your muscular and skeletal system to hold something down. It's physical. The results of my codependency, addiction, avoidant behavior. I'm 36 years sober. I believe that if I hadn't got sober, I wouldn't be alive today because of the unresolved trauma, which created stress, which creates dis-ease, which creates conditions that are detrimental to my health.
Literally,
So,
our physical health as well as our psychological health.
yes, yes. Gabriel Mate said this, and this is something I held to be true before he said it. I'm glad he said it because he's clinical, he's a doctor, he's got the degree. That whatever you find here, spiritual, emotional, physical, is a result of this complex post-traumatic stress. It's all in here. It's all in the subconscious. And it doesn't just have to, like I say, family organ dysfunction, childhood trauma. Well, I received trauma without the ability to emotionally release it in my preteens, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and it's accumulated. So this is a way of coming back to health, spiritually, emotionally, physically. My body has changed dramatically. And not just because I'm getting old and my body's changing, I'm getting old, but I'm just a different whole everything. And when my cells divided before my recovery, they actually passed on the trauma. Now they're passing on the relief, I intend to love myself, I intend to self-actualize, I intend to be kind. Those are now that's part of my subconscious. And Marty, when I say this display is in alignment with this subconscious, that is true for me today. Where I'm at right now is always in alignment with what's my experience, what I'm holding, and how I've made beliefs, perceptions, and patterns of behavior. Only now I've done copious amounts of work using this process so that my results are capacity for compassion, capacity for caring for other people, even though they're trying to run me off the road. I'm concerned for their well-being. I'm not, this maniac trying to like get behind them and teach them a lesson. I'm concerned for my safety and their safety. I, in situations, find myself quiet, where before I had to give my opinion or help somebody, like, oh no, you got that wrong. I can just witness what's going on. I don't have to. That's that codependency. Make sure everybody's got the wording right and their bullet points in the right order and all that. And I'm finding peace, and It's coming from 1/10 conscious, 9/10 subconscious. I'm still enjoying the consequences of what's in here today. Good news is I found this. I call it a tree kind of because it looks like one, shaped a little bit. And in my spiritual training, we had the tree of knowledge that drove us out, and then the tree of life, which is our way back in, way back to. So, and I have an affinity. I was born and raised in Sacramento County, the Valley, and the oak trees are just, I have an affinity for oak trees. And so that just popped out one day. I didn't know that it would lead to everything that it's led to, but so that's one of the reasons. And this process, let me say one more thing about this, and something I don't talk about a lot. I got brackets here on this process, and that's the process. Saying the truth, breathe, feel something. We don't have to know. We can. We don't have to. Like, I mean, nice deep breath. Yeah, I intend to be kind. On the brackets on either side, I have one side power, the other side choice. In my codependency, addiction, avoidant behavior, I thought I was making conscious choices. And the truth was, every choice that came to me was riddled with a lot of subconscious motivation. It was a choice, but it was a reactive choice. It was quick choice. Here in this process, I see my power is in direct proportion to the amount of choices I have in any given